Have we effectively weakened our own ability to defend our own shores, God forbid, by not having the equipment that you would expect the Defense Department to have available because we gave it away?
No. The fact is, the United States is the most secure great power in the history of the world. There's no way that any country could invade the United States. There's no country in the Western Hemisphere that even comes close to having enough power to attack the United States. And for any country in Europe or Asia to attack us, they'd have to come across either the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean, and that's just not happening. So, excuse me, we're in good shape on that front. The Europeans are in terrible shape. The European militaries are in no position to fight the Russians. But the fact is, as we were saying a few minutes ago, the Russians are not going to invade Eastern Europe or Western Europe. So the Europeans are not going to have to fight the Russians. And by the way, this is one of the reasons the Europeans have spent so little money in defense since the Cold War ended. They don't fear the Russians. There's, again, no chance that Putin will invade Eastern Europe.
Yesterday, President Putin gave his annual 4-hour press conference, preceded by a 20 or 30-minute speech. Here's a little clip, which is a window into his brain. Listen to what he says, please, and watch his demeanor, and I'd love your thoughts.
There will be peace when we achieve our goals. Now, let's get back to these goals. They don't change. Let me remind you of what we talked about the denazification of Ukraine, about demilitarization, about its neutral status. We will agree on demilitarization and agree on certain parameters. During the negotiations in Istanbul, we agreed on them, but then they simply threw these agreements into the oven. There are other possibilities, either to reach an agreement or to resolve it by force. This is what we will strive for.
He's been consistent since day one, has he not?
He has. He looks like he feels like he's in control, that events are going his way. And of course they are. You can tell from the smile on his face. Vladimir Putin today looks a lot happier and a lot more confident than he did a year ago. And I think that's the case for good reason. Where this all ends up still remains to be seen. I mean, his stated goals are quite vague, other than the fact that he definitely wants Ukraine not to be in NATO. He wants Ukraine to be a neutral state. That's, I think, the one goal that the Russians will not equivocate on. But, exactly how this plays out, it just remains to be seen. And I think the most important question is how much territory in Ukraine, beyond the territory that Russia now controls, that it will end up acquiring and annexing.